Welcome to Riverbend Talent on WBGZ, brought to you by the Halpin Music Company.
Riverbend Talent on the Big Z. I'm Dennis. Pigpen's with us as well. Brought to you by Halpin Music Company and by Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance. Pigpen, we're still quarantined.
Oh, yeah. What is it? Day 14 of the quarantine. I don't know what day it is, actually. I haven't been counting. The days are all running together when you don't leave the house much. So, but here in the quarantine time, we have taken to going digital. Skype. We've done a few Skype interviews, and now with this Facebook, we're doing this particular interview on, correct?
Yep.
The digital age is upon us. Well past us. But we have as our guest for this piece of segment, Mr. Jon Valley, who has been on with us. Oh, it's been back a couple of years ago. Jon was on with us, and we've mainly talked about his album, The Great Toad Prophet.
No, that's now, Pacific Communications, Pigpen. That's a song.
Now,
The Great Toad Prophet is a song on there.
They're synonymous.
Okay. We got to get the facts straight with Pigpen.
Fake news. That's all I got. Fake news. This is the Spin Zone. New album out by Jon Valley. I believe I will get this title right. It is I Am Ghost Boy and There Will Be No Surrender.
Yes, that is the correct title. The word out is a little bit of an overstatement. It's been mastered for like a year and a half, and I've just been sitting on it. So it isn't officially out. You guys get a sneak preview, but when I get around to making videos for it all, then I'll put it out.
Nice.
Oh, really? So how long have you been working on this project? Because you don't rush projects. You tend to take your time.
I try to rush projects.
Like double albums. One album turns into a double album. What do you do?
I learned my lesson on my last one, Pacific Communications, was in fact a double album. And until some form of huge success comes to my way, I'll probably not do double albums. Everything's more expensive that way, you know. They charge you twice as much to send it out to radio stations because of the postage, and on and on and on. And so I didn't intend for the last one to be a double album. Just my 38-minute song forced it to be.
Right.
You gotta love that, though. 38-minute song. I like the long jams.
It started off to be 9. I've just got to learn to edit myself a little bit better. I just go on tangents of tangents, you know.
Well, you're telling a story, though. It takes a while to tell a story. That's a good
I
story.
agree.
Yeah.
And it's expensive to tell stories, too.
Right. It doesn't cost anything to write a song, but to make an album, you always got to borrow money off somewhere. Guys who tend to give you money to make albums aren't the kind of guys who write songs. They're different kinds of people.
Indeed. So on this album, I kept it a single album. The longest song on this one is like 12 minutes, which still kicks American Pie's ass.
Mm-hmm.
Don McLean can suck it.
Well, I used to think of that as a long song until I got into songwriting, and then I don't know.
It didn't seem so long.
Good song, just a little short.
Yeah. Unlike 2000 Nights, which is 53 seconds. That's a short song.
That is amongst the most played songs across the country of mine. That is, people just love those short songs.
Yeah. Pigpen and I used to always play the short songs because we have to fill a minute at the end of the hour. So.
Yep, back timing.
I forgot to put one of those on this particular album. I was going to do it just because I had so much success, quote unquote, with nationwide, quote unquote, airplay.
Right.
Well, I always thought a great album for DJs to back time would have a song that was 1 minute, a song that was 2 minutes, a song that was 3 minutes. So you could be like, oh, I need 3 minutes to fill this hour. It's like track 3.
I just try not to write 38-minute songs. Though I must say, I never expected that to be played on a radio station, and I found out that a radio station / small network played the thing in its entirety.
Oh wow!
How they have their FCC license, I do not know. Still.
Right? Yeah, because there's a giant disclaimer on disc 2. Right?
I forgot about that. Yes, that's what happens when I get involved with Photoshop. I overdo things.
It says at least one frog and one hamster were killed in the making of this compact disc, or at least in the incidents that have their story reported here.
I'm sure the statute of limitations on frog deaths or toad deaths is quite expired, so now the truth can be told.
This was 2016, so yeah, you might be all right. I don't know.
You're gonna have to consult the lawyers on this one.
I shall the moment I can afford one.
There is a very fitting title though on the last album, "Love in the Time of Fear."
Oh,
yeah.
Indeed, yeah. That's one of my favorite songs. I think it ends the album. Is that correct?
It does. The first disc. Right. I mean, because technically there's 2 discs, so.
A bonus disc, as I call it.
Right. One song in the bonus disc, right? 37 minutes or something like that.
I tried to make it shorter, but things just didn't go according to plan.
And there may or may not have been hamsters and frogs killed.
I keep it vague for my risk management side.
Now, I know you did the first album was a do-it-yourself album. You did it all at home. You recorded it. I think you sent it away to get mastered, right?
Yes, I always use the same master. If I can mention names, Brad Sarno of Blue Jade. The first album, This House of Cookies, I did entirely on my own. And whereas I'm fond of the album, I realized that, I can only do so much in terms of doing it, at a world-class sort of level. And, it pretty much doesn't extend beyond me playing piano and singing. I was able to do stuff with guitars and stuff and bass that I was pleased with, but I came to realize that other people, you spend their whole lives playing those instruments, and I was just, I never play guitar unless I'm recording an instrument, and so recording an album. And so on the second album, I brought in some people on a couple of tracks, and I instantly realized that should be the case. And so on the current album, all my tracks, I only play keyboards, do the drum parts, and sing. And I brought in other people to do all the parts. So this one really is the first one that I don't feel, I chinched on in terms of making sure that every part was just, by really stellar players.
Nice. And so did you record this one at home, though?
This was recorded in 2 places, actually. At my studio, which I call Grey Room Studios. Well, actually, I don't call it that anymore. I realized there were other studios called that, so forget about that.
Right.
That's what I always called my studios, and then wherever I was, and then I looked up the trademarks, and 3 other people had Grey Rooms, and at the time, I was trying to figure out how not to get sued by people.
Right.
And so I recorded this at my house, which I believe I call Seed Shot Studio. on my last record, and I recorded it most of my parts here, and then a friend of mine, Jeremy P. Von Nita, I also he co-produced the record with me, and he played a large amount of parts. A couple other Alton people were also involved on a couple tracks. Bud Summers.
Oh, wow.
You guys know Bud? Bud plays guitar on a track, and he never got to hear the final product.
Oh, bummer.
Which I'm very sad about. But he did a great job. And Eric Hensley, you guys know him?
Yep.
He plays bass on a couple tracks, and one of them is on that Bud Summers plays on. So, but mostly it was me and Jeremy, and we spent 3 years doing it, which is longer than I wanted to do, you know. But I'm very proud of the results. And
Pigpen just fell or something. I don't know what happened there. I think
he's got a better microphone than me. Gosh darn it.
I did fall over. Here we go. I think I got it back. There it is. My
So
so that's great. You got that's cool that you got Bud on there.
Oh, it was a joy. You know, I'll tell you why I had Bud play on the record. And first of all, he's an astounding guitar player, as you guys probably know. But I ran sound for them one time, him and his band, at their CD release party. And I felt bathed in love by the way those guys interacted and by his demeanor. And I just said, I have to work with that, you know?
Yeah.
And so I invited him to do it, and we recorded up at his place. He has a nice studio in a barn. And you know, I took those tracks back, and it was just great working with him. I was so devastated when I heard the news.
Yeah. We have had Bud on a couple of times, and matter of fact, right before the CD release party. And sorely missed, big time.
Absolutely, yeah. But he lives on in his music, and whenever this album eventually gets released, he will be on that, and it'll be great.
Is it legal to release albums right now?
I think it's legal, but I don't know if it's terribly advisable, because you can't really play live and sell your records.
Right.
You can promote it online and stuff like that. But I'm taking some video classes at UMSL. So I'm kind of thinking that I want to, make a video for as many songs as I can get away with using their green room studio.
Right.
And right now, nobody's using it because of all of this madness. And all the classes have suddenly gone to online. But I don't envision myself necessarily touring too much. I kind of want to find other ways to promote it. And the videos that I've made in those classes have really opened my eyes to the possibility of promoting it that way. So I will probably have to rent out a lot of monkey suits at some point for the monkey dance.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm looking forward to learning the monkey dance. I kind of got a few of them.
It's not just one dance. It's whatever you bring to the table.
Oh, I can monkey around with the best of them.
That's what I've got. It's in our DNA. So from a line that I cut out of the song. My daddy was a poop flinger before me, and his daddy was a poop flinger before him. I don't know. I'm sorry, John. This is a family. No, I think the idea of using video to promote an album is a great idea, because most people, they want to watch video when they're listening to music. It's a multimedia society that we now
live in. So many people listen to music on computers and on, through things that have a screen. They want to see that entertainment too. Entertain me, man. So that's really cool.
So I wish I would have done it, when I was actually in those classes. I still got like a senior project, which is probably where I'm going to do all these videos. I'll just talk them into letting me, promote my album. But instead, in those classes, I did a comedy zombie movie. So that went over quite well.
Nice.
Hey, Pigpen.
I think I saw some comedy zombie movie.
Pigpen, everyone knows when you take your face off camera, you're doing a hit. There's no reason to... Smoke comes out of your mouth as soon as you come back on camera. It's legal, man. Get over it.
Oh, yeah.
You're busting me out.
I did. Well, people watch this, they're going to know. And you know me, I go for the truth, man.
I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, it's legal, man. Calm down.
I feel bad.
That it blows me away that it's legal. But it seems like it always just should have been.
Yeah.
Like a really stupid law that has a lot of people in jail. That's, take up taxpayer money.
Yeah. They go to jail for possessing the cure to cancer. I don't. Anyway. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disrupt the program with the flow.
We'll make it part of the program.
We haven't even. We've not even got to talk to Jon about his new show yet.
Right. And I want to talk to him about his beard. So.
Oh my God! I didn't know this was going to be a video thing. Otherwise, I probably would have shaved. This is what I look like when I'm quarantined.
Right.
Normally, I do shave, at least along here, and keep my goatee and mustache going. But into the fire.
Right.
The only thing that's missing is I've been thinking about buying a bathrobe. So I can just lounge around the house in a bathrobe. I've never owned a bathrobe, and now's the chance.
Yeah.
You gotta go all Hugh Hefner and walk around in your bathrobe, cocktail on the smoke, and I don't know. Sounds like a good way to spend.
I've been dabbling in the beard too, so I had to point out. I noticed you had a beard since the last time I seen you, and so I was reading through all the things that you're supposed to avoid doing, right, because of the coronavirus, and one of them was don't touch your face. And I'm trying to figure out how can you shave if you don't touch your face? Do you have to have a longer razor, like with a reach on it? I don't know.
And the other thing is, don't have a beard.
I've heard that too, just recently.
So it's a catch-22. So
yeah.
Nobody ever sees me with a beard unless I've been terribly lazy and neglectful.
Okay.
If I had my druthers, I'd shave every day except for the goatee and the beard. But then I just miss a day or two, and then it gets harder as it goes along, and it snowballs.
Right.
And then it becomes a project to hack away at it.
Right. Now it's going to take 3 hours just to get through it, man. Come on.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks good though.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here staring at myself on this small video screen and saying, I probably should have shaved.
Well,
oh God! See, I don't look at the square with me. I just look at you and him. If I look at the square of my screen with me, I go, "Oh, geez, what did I do?" So you've got a show going on KDHX now. Thursday night. It starts Thursday night, 11 p.m. And
Indeed,
goes to
really,
1 a.m. And it is a local show playing local music called Local Harvest. tell us a little bit about the show, what you got going on there.
So I had been playing around with the idea of doing a local show for years, and I just got around to doing it. And really what changed my mind was the way I decided to do it, and that is that I will have local St. Louis area musicians come on, and they will be my guest co-host, and they will choose the music for at least half the show.
Oh.
So I'll interview them in depth, and they're the people who choose other St. Louis local music to play. They get to choose one track of their own, and then they just get to give shout-outs to their friends and people they work with or people they admire. And that became, what moves me about the show is it's not just my view of the St. Louis music scene. And the reason I did it that way is as I was planning the show, I really thought, well, that's kind of arrogant of me to say this is the music scene. And as I got into it, every week I just learn about new crevices and music scenes and everything else. And I'm pretty knowledgeable about it all, but I get schooled by other people each and every week.
So if somebody's got material, how do they get it to you to get it on air possibly?
So, yeah, that has really taken off, too. It's also a show that's very, very open to people. What I try to do, I don't know how long I'll be able to, practically guarantee that. But what I try to do is, give every artist who's releasing a record, at least 2 spins, and then it'll pop up later on as we go. But right around their CD release, I try to really promote everyone. And all people have to do is write local harvest at kdhx.org and give me a shout out and let me know what they're doing and what their record is. And even if the record's old, they can. I don't have the capacity to just play everyone all the time, but everyone who's written to me and is releasing a record has really been taken care of. That's what the show is there for.
That's outstanding. Oh, Pigpen's waiting for me to talk. Go ahead, Pigpen. Were you going to say something? I didn't have none. I was letting you run this.
No, I was just going to say how much I like your outlook on the show of bringing other people in instead of just saying, look, this is what I know about the scene. Because I know with this show, as much as we try to reach out to people we don't know and that aren't part of our circle, it's so easy when you've got a bunch of friends to just go, yeah, well, let's have them on. Let's have this guy on. But it's always so much more fun when you have someone that you don't know and you learn something new, or you see the Great Toad Prophet. I would have never listened to that song had we not had, I wouldn't have had the album had we not had you on the show a couple years ago. Well, at KDHX, I might have been lucky enough to get a copy from you. But to me, I love that kind of stuff. The longer not necessarily the longer the songs, the better, but I don't think we should limit ourselves to 3-minute, 4-minute songs. And I love concept albums. I love things that tell a story. So, you hit right in my wheelhouse with that, and I would have never come across that had we not had you on the show. I love it when that happens. And with your show, the way you laid it out, it's not, like you say, Jon Valley's view of the St. Louis music scene. It's a lot of people. It's whoever you got on that week.
Well, my original intention, which I put down in my manifesto, never write a manifesto.
Okay.
Was I was going to have 2 guest hosts, and they were going to choose all the music. But I came to realize, A, it's a heck of a lot of work to, gather all that music and have people in and interview them, as you guys know. But it also took away the opportunity for me to have people be able to get their albums promoted and stuff like that. And, just you never know what people are going to choose music-wise. They might pick all of one sort of music. And mine is all genre show. So on each given week, you'll hear jazz and bluegrass and hip hop and whatever mishmash is there. So I like to fill in the musical diversity gap. So I've kind of fitted it around the form of having one guest host, and they get interviewed and play a bunch of tunes for an hour, and I fill in the gap just so I can, do really obscure music, blast from the past. I mean, like a couple months back, I played an Alton group, the Avon Ladies.
Oh, yeah.
You guys aware of their work?
We have played them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just like, maybe nobody would have ever picked that. So this is kind of my way of doing the best of both worlds. I go searching for the obscure and then have the unknown to me brought to me on a weekly basis.
I could hook you up with Fritz Beer. You could have Fritz Beer, have him on. He's got got about 20 different bands and 20 different CDs he can turn you on to. So
I would love it.
Yeah.
Yes. As I always say, everyone will be on my show eventually. It just takes a lot of time to get there. And currently, with the quarantine procedure, I'm not having guest hosts on right now, just for everyone's safety. But I'm looking into ways to possibly do it remotely, like we're doing here, and to continue that. But I've already got a huge backlog of people wanting to be on the show the moment this is over, and I may start it remotely before this quarantine ends.
I think you got the nice. I think you got the nice velvet hat right there. You got your obscure picks. You got a guest host turning you on to something else, and then promoting new albums for people. That's the perfect local show going on there.
And plus, it also gives me the chance to give tributes to people. When I hear they've passed or something like that. Like
right.
Like on my first show. I think it was my first show, Gus Codris has passed. And so I played a Bishop's tune, and I knew him from way, way back.
Right.
So,
I knew Gus from back when he was a band called Palace.
I played a gig with Palace at a Battle of the Bands.
Nice. I was there. It was their only gig they ever played, I think. Tony Morales and yeah.
Where was the gig you were talking about?
Was it a ball field somewhere?
That was the gig.
Yeah. I was there working with them that day.
You were working sound?
I was working on the crew somehow, setting that whole thing up. I just remember helping set that whole show up with that, going.
That was their only show.
And getting gear,
that was their only show.
I think that might have been one of their only shows they did. They didn't do it. It was more than that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank because we had Gus on a couple of times. And the first time we have you on, as you know, John, we sit down and we kind of, just chat for a while before we actually go into the interview. So we kind of got a good idea of what to talk about. And when he came in, he was so prepared that he just kind of like went for it right off the bat. And like I happened to record all that. And then we were able to play that back once he passed. And man, it's the highest viewed Riverbend talent that we put out, I'm pretty sure.
He was in just so many amazing bands from, the Bishops. Culture Shock is where I came to know him from. And literally the only reason that I'm in radio, in music, is because I saw Culture Shock play,
You see, that caught me off when you said that it was the Avon Ladies that you dug out, because I was thinking he's going to say Dazzling Killman.
I played Dazzling Killman the other day. Darren Gray, of course, was in Culture Shock, and literally after seeing Culture Shock play, I went to school with Darren, and the very next day in school, I begged him to teach me to play keyboards, which he did. And I drew their posters and so it was a good symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, I remember that from when we talked to you in the interview we did with you. So, yeah, it's cool, man. And the concept, great idea because for one thing, half the shows picked by the other guy. You can say, look, he picked half the songs. I couldn't get your song on this week because you know how that goes too with your buddies, right? They're like, you didn't play my song this week. What's up, right, Pigpen?
Well, I try to play everybody's song, and certainly, when people have releases, I find a way to fit them in. But I wish, that I could play everyone every week. If people turn in expecting to hear themselves that week, but everyone will be a guest host eventually. Depending on how long I live. And like I say, in the tentacles go out from having guest hosts on. So everyone, it gets to everyone eventually. And what I learned from it, I put back into the show. But
yeah, that's definitely how we've went about it too. We learn all this stuff, and something comes up like a local show all of a sudden from Jon Valley, and we're like, we've talked to him, we know him, let's get a hold of him, let's talk to Jon, and it's so important, man, what you're doing. So as is, I have to say, and I don't mean to just flatter you guys, but I've been a huge admirer of what you guys have done for the local scene. This is a great show, and I'm just grateful that you guys are doing it, before I did. So. Cool.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm just dancing around. He does a pretty good job. I just show up and jackass around. It's a pretty good gig for me.
See, that's actually fake news once again because he sets up all the guests. So he takes a huge load off my shoulders right there, Jon. You know how that is, getting guests, right, lined up?
I thought it would be the easiest thing in the world, but, as much as I love musicians, they are cats to be herded, and somebody will sound the most excited about it ever, and then just disappear on you.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. Meanwhile, tons of other people are backlogged, wanting to be on the show, and so. It's a strange thing, and part of the reason why there's only one guest host on each show,
right?
Instead of two.
Yeah.
My life would be a living hell if I had two on, just because of the amount of work of arranging it and gathering songs, and because I naively went to it, and this shows my age, thinking, oh, well, people will just walk in with CDs, and I'll and I think I've seen one person, come in with some CDs, maybe two, and the rest have just been all kinds of things, just sending me WAV files. Here's some Spotify and all this kind of stuff. So my conception of what the show will be and how it gets carried out changes from week to week.
Yeah, definitely. But, that's the fun of it, right? Because, like you said, they're all musicians. And once you do get a hold of them, you tap right into them because, they're very familiar to you because you're kind of the same thing, So it all comes together once you get them together, right? And any of us that knows us try to put a band together, what that's all about, right?
I have sworn off bands. Simply for that reason, because musicians are crazy. I mean, I include myself in the craziness.
Right.
As I put it these days, everybody's crazy. But it's how crazy relative to the other craziness that matters. And I just can't handle the whole band management thing right now.
Right.
It's so much easier for something like this. Somebody asks you to do it, you say, yeah, I'm free on whatever night or whatever gig, and you show up instead of making 5 phone calls and waiting for 5 phone calls, and then no, we can't make this date, but that date, and arranging it down.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so much better, you know. The closest I've come to being in a band is working with a co-producer on this record, and that was a great experience. I mean, he's crazy and I'm crazy, but it all worked out in some way, as I hope is evident on the record.
Yeah, I think that's something that I aspire to do is work with a producer and kind of go that way, because I've done so much by myself. I just want to see what it's like to kind of be guided through it. You know what I mean?
It's a you know, I produce and have produced some artists myself, including myself. But it is an interesting experience to, you walk into it and you have these conceptions about how everything should be. And when somebody else says, well, let's do it this way. I mean, you know, I had put a stop date on when I wanted the production to end because it had gone on for 3 years and I'd only intended for it to go on for a year and a half. And like on the night, in the closing month, he wanted to put in this whole different part, which was a major thing. And as we were going into it, I thought, that's just the craziest thing. We're there. It sounds good. And he says, but it could be that much better. And we did it. And some of it were his ideas. But we both admitted at the end of it that it only worked because we had each tossed in our own 2 cents. And he's a hell of a guitar player and a bass player and, you know, percussionist and, you know, a great engineer too.
Well, bonus, he's playing alongside too. That's nice. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't want just somebody there who didn't play an instrument telling me what to do. A child could do that. Well, you should play better on that part.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
They got to be able to show you. They got to have the goods. Otherwise, you know, I'm gonna have a little bit of trouble respecting them unless their name happens to be George Martin or something like that.
There you go. That's a good one to pull out. Yeah, that's true.
Even he played piano and stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit of letting go. But what you get in return is this is, you know, I'm proud of my previous records, but this is the only one that I don't feel at some level of wanting to disclaimer, like, oh, well, you know, it's good for this and whatnot. This one, I just say, yeah, it's there, you know. It's got guitar players playing guitar parts, you know. You get Bud Summers, you get Eric Hensley, you know, and you know, when I was just doing guitar parts, it would be like me doing half an hour, you know, doing some interesting soundscape or something. But what I didn't bring to the table in guitar is the ability to go, you know, at will and just have a lifetime of being able to pull out whatever was necessary. So that and the solidness and a history with the instrument is really what it needed for me to take it to what I consider the next level, you know. And quite frankly, I can't imagine ever working any way again, except for at least having very skilled musicians doing what they do alongside my framework and my keyboard playing, you know.
Any animals harmed in the making of the new album?
I'd have to think about that.
Or reptiles, I guess.
No, I think it was all theoretical this time. The monkey dance, we didn't involve any monkeys, you know.
Amphibians.
There will be sequels and, you know, to that other one. So it'll all come back.
I hope so. You kind of left me hanging. I want more.
Well, I tend to do tangents of things, and everything come back eventually, you know.
Cool.
I several times on albums I put something like, but that's a story for another time, and I'll probably make an album at some point in time called Another Time.
Perfect.
In which I'll revisit those, tangential ideas and whatnot. So
Cool.
Nice.
All right.
Well, this is
Well,
very Zappa-esque.
yeah. Not surprising that it would be something Jon Valley would be into Frank Zappa style. Yeah. So.
yeah, I didn't know how much I was influenced by Frank Zappa until very recently when I started listening to his work, and I was like, wow, yeah, that's kind of what I am doing, but I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I probably own more CDs by Frank than any other artist, just because he's got so many. I've got to have 50, 60 CDs and albums, man.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
He's got so much material, and it's all so insane. I love it.
Let's see, at 3 years per CD, I'll be have made as many as Frank Zappa by the time I'm 2,000 years old.
Right.
He was a monster putting stuff out.
Interesting side story involving Frank Zappa. Brad Sarno, who masters my albums and a whole lot of others, he when Frank Zappa's widow was auctioning off his stuff, those tiny little car speakers that people put in recording studios to flip it on to hear that? He bought Frank Zappa's out of his legendary studio.
Wow.
And it was shockingly cheap. He was like, yeah, I got them for like $50.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, whoa. Yeah. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff that was really expensive. But those small little tiny speakers, he got for really, really crazy cheap, and uses them in his mastering studio.
I would have paid $50 for the ashtray out of that studio.
I'm sure the ashtray was much more expensive.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Somehow he got in on it. He's a little bit connected. He makes like guitar pedals in his and like he makes guitar pedals for the Grateful Dead. When I was over there on my last album mastering it, he was telling a story of how he was with a client and he looked down on his phone and it said A. Summers, and he thought, maybe I better take this call, and it was Andy Summers of the Police calling up to say, Roy, there's only I need one of your pedals shipped to me. So he'll get like invited backstage at like Jackson Browne concerts because the guitar tech is trying them out. All of the members of Wilco have his pedals, and I'll see them coming through the studios at KDHX too. They're well known around the industry. Plus, he masters records too.
Yeah. Well, that's
master jack of all trades.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Jon, for coming on with us this evening and sharing how you're handling this quarantine and really telling us about that new album. That's been outstanding. Hi, Alex. You came back in. What's up, buddy?
Yeah. Well, had a little connection problems, and I hope you're recording well on your end.
We seem to be. We seem to be, and I was just about to wrap it up, so you can go away.
All right, bye-bye.
Once again, the new recording you're working on, what's that called, Jon?
I am Ghost Boy, and there will be no surrender.
So from now on, we should refer to you as Ghost Boy from now on? Is that what that's saying?
It is kind of a nickname that I called myself in some rather desperate times, when I was speaking to myself and whatnot. And so, yeah, it's kind of a nickname that I imbued upon myself. Whether it catches on, I don't know, nor do I care. But I think it's appeared in each of my albums in some very subtle way. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I usually try to include it. And this particular time around, I just thought, just call the album, that. So
cool. And then the local harvest show, that's Thursday nights, right?
Thursday night, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. on KDHX 88.1 St. Louis. And the email for any local musicians. And yes, Alton, you are very much included. You're part of my history. I throw out the welcome mat for anyone who wants to send me tracks or reach out to me. localharvest@kdhx.org.
Wonderful. And every musician will admire your beard. And will, because they're going to want to get their song played. So.
Right. Yes, flatter the beard.
Right. Well, if anyone comments on the beard, you'll know they were watching our show, probably. So,
I every time I have to get my picture taken, I always shave. No matter how much effort it is, and so this is me being just quarantine out, like meh. Meh.
So where's the best?
Bring on the backup.
Where's the best place for us to find Jon Valley music and catch up with you?
Well, the new album isn't out, and there is no predicted date. I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll release it during all this in advance of an actual release, just to have it out there before the videos come out to promote it. But I'm on Spotify, Bandcamp, all those things. I go through CD Baby, and they put it on all those things all over the world, and it really is astounding to me that all that's possible.
Right. So that's Jon Valley. Just search for that Jon without an H, Jon.
Without an H, right. And yes, and I will come up, or at least I have in the past. I haven't been terribly promoting myself musically lately, but that there will come a time where I will again, and I think the Google search results are still there. So.
Cool. All right, that's Jon Valley, everybody. From my partner Pigpen, you're listening to Riverbend Talent, brought to you by Halpin Music Company and by Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance.